entire world is a very narrow bridge, a very narrow bridge, a very narrow bridge. Oh, the entire world is a very narrow bridge, a very narrow bridge. The whole entire world is a very narrow bridge, a very narrow bridge, a very narrow bridge. The whole entire world is a very narrow bridge, a very narrow bridge. And the main thing is to recall, have no fear at all. And the main thing is to recall, have no fear at all. We said last week that we're not coming to this chabura, shir, whatever you want to call it, for a nice thing to say at the Shabbos table, for a nice fourth. We're coming here because we actually want to make an impact in our avodas Hashem. We want to change our lives. Rabbi Nachman he offers us drachim, paths in how to achieve what we want in our avodas Hashem, so that we're not staying at the same level our whole lives. I remember someone I was speaking to once said that at one time he had like a good Shemon Esrei, and then it was like an unbelievable Shemon Esrei, and then since that time he was not able to achieve that level of Shemon Esrei.
Yeah, you're just right time.
I'm just telling a quick story.
For you.
Absolutely.
Take drinks.
Oh, not for me, thank you.
We began, by the way, with a small niggin of the whole entire world is a very narrow bridge, and the main thing is not to be afraid. And this is one of the most important nekudas right now, which is we have such indomitable spirit when it comes to our Yiddishkeit, and in the face of all the stuff out there, we're not afraid. And in fact, I believe the precise lashon in Hebrew, even though it's not exactly how it's said in the song, is don't make yourself afraid. Don't get into your own, don't infiltrate your own mind through your, you go watch the news and you freak out. Be stalwart warriors when it comes to confronting what we're confronting. And then we went into just an important hakdama, which is we're not here. We're not coming to this particular chabura / shir because we want another vort for the Shabbos table, another idea to share with your buddy. We actually want to change our lives. We want to grow in our avodas Hashem. I remember someone told me that they one time had a really good Shemon Esrei. It was like awesome, such kavanah, and then it was like that was like it. And in one sense, it's it's beautiful. At one time, your person was able to achieve a beautiful Shemon Esrei. But in another sense, it's sad because we have so many Shemon Esreis. So we don't want just that one Shemon Esrei in our life was a good Shemon Esrei. We want that hopefully many Shemon Esreis. We can have that are strong and we're present or plugged in. And Rabbeinu Zal is offering us drachim, pathways in the Avodas Hashem, so that we can achieve that. That you can actually achieve the growth you want. And I decided that instead of going chronologically in Likutey Halachos, like we were planning to do last week, instead I made the decision that in Kemezra with Rabbi Kalmas is starting a new series of shirim in the second Torah Likutey Moran, which is a very powerful Torah, that in conjunction with his shirim that we would do the Likutey Halachos associated with that Torah, which is actually in the second volume of Choshen Mishpat, which is that one over there.
This is not the...
So the Torah is not going to be in this one actually. It's going to be in the Hebrew, in Hilchos Nachalos, the fourth discourse.
Holy.
So I threw everyone for a loop.
Choshen Mishpat, Halachah.
Halachah, the Hilchos Nachalos, Halachah Daled.
Halachos.
It's going to be Nachalos. Nachlas.
Everybody.
It's not on Hashkamas above.
That's maybe...
It's not in this. We're deep. We're deep in.
Yeah, I didn't bring that.
I should have given a more clear.
Nachalos is I don't know why I don't see Nachal over here.
Okay, so we'll just listen from you.
Oh, here. Halachas, Nachalos, Halachah,
Daled.
Halachah, Daled, Kif. Daf Kif, instead.
Yeah, it's like Minor Chaim, it's in the Choshen Mishpat. Deep in.
Side Nachalos. That's where it starts.
Yeah, exactly. So the Kalmas is doing a new series on the second Torah Likutey Moran. Ki Iker Klei Zenu Shemashiach Chut Tefillah. That's how it begins. The Iker, the essential weapon of Mashiach, is Tefillah. And you should know, by the way, that Rav Nosson Zal says in the Kitz Likutey Moran, right, which is he takes each Torah and he gives like the main pieces of avoda with it. He says each Jew, he changes the lesson from Mashiach to each Jew. Each Jew's main weapon is tefillah, and this is incredibly relevant because of the times that we're in. And perhaps you're wondering, what's my role in all of this? Comes Rabbi Nachman and Rav Nosson to tell us precisely the way in which we can have not only an impact, but the impact. And he's going to, in the Torah Likutey Moran, he builds this formula. So he says, you want your tefillahs to have impact. You want your tefillahs to be powerful. So where are we holding on Shmir Sabris? Because the extent that a person is Shmir Sabris, which means sexual purity in all the iterations, that's the extent that a person is going to have a very powerful tefillah. But he says, it's actually not enough to have Shmir Sabris. You need something called Mishpat. Because fine, you have a gun that's fully loaded, but who's to say you're going to use it in the right way? He says a person needs this thing called Mishpat, which is a precise striking, if you will. And he says the expression of Mishpat is tzedakah. It's going to be a person giving tzedakah, which is the impoverishment of oneself in order to lift up another. This is going to be what allows someone's powerful tefillah to hit its address, so to speak. This is just a small hakdama.
Yosef at Tzaddik, who was Shmir Sabris, and he gave tzedakah with the...
Yeah, okay, good.
With tzedakah way as well.
He fed the whole world with...
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
And especially Am Yisrael, who he brought them to take care of them.
Right, exactly. So you're going to see Yosef and Reuven, it's all going to sort of come up. So we're going to dive into the Torah, do the best that we can. I encourage, if you can, to listen to the Shirim from Rebbe Kalmis. It'll be a very powerful. It'll be powerful to hear him give over the Torah alongside with what we're doing, and here's the practical piece: is to actually, if you don't have hisbodedus, to actually begin to do hisbodedus. Rabbi Nachman explains that one of the most powerful pieces of advice that a person could, have when it comes to hisbodedus is actually doing what's called turning Torah into tefillah. So you have a piece of Torah that you're learning, and you turn that Torah into a prayer. So, for example, if we're learning that the main weapon of a Jew is going to be tefillah, you just say, Hashem, I just learned that the main weapon of the Jew is prayer. Please, may I tap into this ultimate weapon, if you will. Right? I'm going to see exactly how it looks. And that way you're taking the Torah and you're actually living with it, walking with it, breathing it. And, Rabbi Nachman explains in a different Torah that there's the upper bris and the lower bris. Upper bris being the mouth and the lower bris being the yesod. And that these things are intimately connected. So if you want to have strength in one area, you have to also have strength in the other area. You also know someone might be pagam in one area if he's pagam in like the upper bris, so to speak. So someone who has issues with speech, lashon hara, all these things, profanities, you can be rest assured that there's also pagam bris downstairs, so to speak. So hisbodedus is the ultimate expression of being metaken, the upper bris. So you're speaking, you're taking dibur. And so if one person wants to strengthen, for example, Shmir Sabris, the way to actually do that is through vis-a-vis the hisbodedus. So it becomes an important practice. And hopefully I'm going to strengthen it as well in my own life. But here we go. He's quoting the Shulchan Aruch, Choshen Mishpat, Siman Reish Ayin Vav, Sif Aleph, Seder Nachalos, Habein v'chol yotzei, Chalatzav, Kodmin, Labas v'chulei, V'av Kodem v'chol yotzei, Yereichu v'chulei, V'inin habachor shenot of Pi Shnayim. And then he says, Al Pi Torah, Emer El HaKohanim, that's the Torah in the Likutey Ram, Ayin Shem Kol Torah. So the order of inheritance is that the son and all who come from him, the grandkids, go before the daughter, and the father comes before all his children when it comes to inheritance, and the Bechor gets a double portion. And then Rav Nassim is going to give a short Hagdama into the Torah, very short, a synopsis of the Torah in Likutey Ram. Mavur Sham she'ikur ha'tefillah, ki'ikur kli zeno shel Mashiach v'kol melchama shi'asa v'kol hachvishu she'yichbuj hakol b'sham v'chulei. It's explained over there in that Torah in Likutey Ram that the ikar is tefillah, which is the essential weapon of Mashiach, and he's going to, right, with all the wars, and all that he conquers, it's all going to come through to tefillah. Amavur Sham she Yosef she Shamar Habris Zacha the Bechora she Bechinas Avodah Tefillah. And it explains over there in the Likutey Moharan that Yosef at Tzaddik, he was Shomer Habris, and he merited the Bechorah. He merited the first bunch of Bechinas, Avodas HaTefillah, Ki Bechor Noitel Pishnayim. The Bechor takes the double portion, Ki Pishnayim Hu Bechinas Tefillah Sheish Bo Siddur Shivcho Shal Makum Ubekashes Surach V'choli Ayin Sham. Just a brief hagdama into this idea is that you have Ruvain technically was the firstborn. The way we understand what happens is that when he moved his father's bed from Bilhah's tent to Leah's tent, right after Rachel Menu died, so Yaakov puts his bed in Bilhah's tent. Reuven goes in and he moves the tent to Leah's tent. This is understood to be an expression of Pagama Bris. So he lost the birthright. And who gains the birthright? Yosef HaTzadik. He gets the double portion. Because he was Shomer Bris, right? He's the ultimate example of our tzaddikim of this idea of being metaken the bris. And we're going to understand that the double portion is conceptually the same as tefillah, because tefillah is going to have these two aspects to it. It's going to have, on the one hand, praising Hashem, and on the other hand, asking for your needs. And this is going to be the, so to speak, the double-edged sword. And that double-edged sword is going to be attained through Shmir Sabris, as we see with Yosef Tzaddik. So he says like this: V'zeu ba'atzmi mechinas mashe b'chor notel b'shnayim ki Rabbeinu Zal lo ber sham rach shenetilas ha'b'chor ki epei shnayim hi b'chinas avodas ha'tefillah. And all this whole idea of the b'chor taking the double portion, Rabbeinu Zal only explains over there that the board takes the double portion, which is avodas ha'tefillah. Aval hu gufa hu mashe b'chor. Note Pishnayim lo nichtav sham time of inyano v'gam ma inyan Pishnayim shal b'chor l'tefilo sheish bo itchnei v'nechshei siddur shivcho u'sha'al sarachav. So the point being over here that in the lesson Likutey Moran, that Rabbeinu Zal does not address why it's the b'chor who gets the double portion, and what exactly is the relationship between the b'chor getting the double portion and tefillah. So all these things are going to hopefully become clearer as we go along. Now, Oz Gimel. Al Inyan Kima Sheish Tefillah Shnei Bechina Shnei Shehem Siddur Shivcho Shel Makom Sha'alu Tzrechav Arazal Yilam Yisaider Adam Shivcho Shel Makom Techila V'Achakach Yavakech Tzrechav. So we're going to see that in order to use this thing called tefillah in a powerful way, it's going to have these two aspects of praising Hashem and also asking for your needs. But there's going to be an order to it. At first, a person should praise Hashem, and then afterwards ask for his needs. V'zeh b'chinas she'amru Arazal ein ha'isha koreses bris ela l'misha osa kli. So when the man marries his wife, right? So she becomes, through the act of bia, she becomes, so to speak, the kli of his shefa. And this idea of shefa and kli is going to become very important. Ki tefillah hi bechinas isha yiras Hashem his halal kemavua ki ikor hatefillah hu lataken kli hashefa b'shleimos ki yudua ukamavua v'hator v'atem tehibli v'chulei. That the ikor of tefillah, the essential aspect of tefillah, is to metaken the kli, so that the shefa could come down in shleimus. As is mentioned in a different Torah, in Likutey Moran, chapter Lamed Dalet. He's going to say an amazing thing. That Hashem Yisbarach, He wants and He desires to give good, and He wants to be mashpia, good, and kindness always. However, eno yuchol lahamshich hashefa kim al yedei ma'isa taktonim. However, He's not able to be mashpia unless there's ma'isa taktonim by us down below. Daika specifically, dahino al yedei b'nei Yisrael shenasin lahem Hamshala ayedei shiyitakol kli hashefa l'shemus ayedei tefillah kitikuna. So the way that we become vessels for Hashem's goodness in this world is precisely through that power of tefillah. Tefillah is going to create the vessel.
Kitikuna?
Yeah. Exactly. The ikar shleimus tefillah hu al yedei amunah. And the ikar shleimus tefillah hu al yedei amunah ki amun bechinas tefillah kamo shekasav kama pa'im. As Rabbi Nachman says many times in different Torahs, he conceptually says it's the same, tefillah and amunah. But we're going to see how amunah is ultimately going to be mashlim this idea of tefillah.
You guys ain't paying the bills?
It makes it more as part of this.
Well, maybe it was Shal shoes or something. Screwing up.
Yeah.
That's exactly the energy we're going for.
Can I turn the lights off?
Yeah.
Over here?
In the kitchen.
Komo shekasav, right? It says in Shemos Yud Zayin pasuk Yud Beis, Vahi yadav amunah. That Moshe's hands were amunah, right? And the Targum over there, right, when they're going to battle and helping Moshe lift up his hands, right? Targum Pirshan B'Tzalo, his hands were spread out in tefillah. Amunah tzri chalio shlema, that the amunah needs to be shlema b'chol habechinos in all aspects. Upalo ze in haletefillah l'shlemas. I guess it does make a difference with the way.
You know, if we had some candles.
I was thinking about bringing them. I was like, that the Amunah needs to be shlema in all aspects. Below ze ein letefillah shlemas ve'eno nasis kli lekabel shefa ki ekor kli in the shlemas ayidei dibra tefillah. And it's not a complete kli to receive the shefa except through dibru tefillah. Hayinu. There's going to be two aspects to this idea of amunah. It's almost hard to believe they wrote this, what he's about to say. The first one we can believe, because it's like standard amunah. But the second point he's going to say is going to be so powerful, so relevant for everything that we're all going through. Hayinu, kamo, shetzarek, shehilo, amunah, shlema, b'Hashem yisbrach, shu borei hakol, umanchek, umoshel, umashgiach, uyadul, l'shanos es hateva. It's necessary for a person to believe with amunah shlema that Hashem is the borei hakol, and He's manhig, and He controls, and He's guiding everything. L'shanos es hateva kiratzon, and He could change nature according to His will. Lashbiya kol tov, and He can be mashbiya, all the good. And just as He's the Borei Olam who's controlling everything, kamo, so too, chen tzrik sheyelo amuna ba'atzmo. A person has to believe in himself. Lahamin be'amuna shlema, he has to believe in amuna shlema. Shem Yisbrach, shomeu uma'azin u'makshiv, kol dibur v'dibur, shel kol echam Yisrael, afilu meharoga be'haroga ki hu yisbarach shmei tefillah kol peh. Just as we believe Hashem is mamish, He's manhig the whole world with hashgacha pratis, we ourselves have to believe with an amunah shlema that Hashem hears every word of our tefillahs. Even those who are the lowest among us, that no word of tefillah is lost. That means that there's a chesron in your tefillah, in the kli, if you don't believe that Hashem's hearing you. I mean, it's like so often it's like, you're like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Sometimes you could say to yourself, what's the point? Is he really inclining his ear? Not only is he inclining his ear, he's desperate for our tefillahs. each and every one of us, regardless of a person's level, a person could be in the lowest level, you know? And we have to believe in the Emunah Shlema, that he hears us and he wants to hear from us, and that belief is actually mashlim the kli. Right? If I have my kli and it has a hole in it, then it's not such a good kli. V'yesh koach b'koil lechem Yisrael lipo because shaso berachmi atzal Yisbarach imispalo be'emes elav Yisbarach Moshe Kasuv. That there is a koach in each Jew to manifest with his request, with rachamim to Hashem. He davens to him in truth, as it says, as we say in Ashrei Karuv Hashem L'chol Karav B'chulei, right? To call out to Hashem, to call out to Him in truth, the emes, with sincerity, with genuinity.
The next part is very scary, what he's saying.
This next line,
Yeah.
V'kol zman. Let's see what he says. Oh my giddy. V'kol zman she'en lo emunah b'atzmo she'yesh gam lo koyach l'hamshich hashefet b'tfilaso adayin ein lo kli l'kabel shefa ki ein lo makom ukli b'liba l'kabel shefa me'achar shelefi daituhu v'rachot l'kabel shefa l'hamshich hashefa me'achar she'en lo ma'ami b'atzmo b'tfilaso oseh roshem. At any time that he doesn't have this emunah in himself, that he has this strength to draw down the shafa with his tefillah, he still doesn't have that kli to mekabel the shafa. Because there's not a place, there's not a kli in his heart to receive that shafa, according to his daito. He's very far to receive that shafa, to draw it down. So he doesn't believe in his, he doesn't believe in himself, he doesn't believe in his tefillah.
So it's very powerful. If somebody's, sometimes a person, you can say to that person, why your tefillah is not mekabel,
You don't believe it.
because you don't believe in yourself that you could have a koyach.
Exactly.
You believe in Hashem, but you don't believe in yourself.
Exactly.
Believe in Hashem, but you don't believe in yourself. So that's a very powerful.
Yeah.
There's a story I heard from Rabbi Kalmas between Rabbi Nachman and Rabbi Nassim. Rabbi Nachman said to Rabbi Nassim, you can see that when you're reading this, you feel Rabbi Nassim's soul coming through the Lashonos.
In regards to the statement that's about believing in Hashem but not believing in oneself, there's another way of looking at certain things when things aren't going your way. And it's wondering if a certain form of suffering or a certain type of experience is simply part of the tests that you will have to face in this world. So it's not necessarily about saying, I can't do it. It's a question of, Hashem, how do I know if I'm destined for this particular thing that I'd like? Or is it possible that in order for me to achieve this soul's mission in this world, that I have to experience this difficult thing that seems to be headed my way, or that I'm currently experiencing? And the fact of the matter is, when a person looks at the entire world and they see that there are certain people who go through what can really be described as unspeakable suffering.
Right.
I had somebody ask me the other day why they are in a certain position that is very difficult. And one of the things that I explained to them is that part of this entire world, it's all about creating Yiras Shamayim. And that they have to believe that the only reason that they are where they are is because their neshama made an agreement with Hashem to go into a certain place and reach down for whatever nitzutza may be buried there, and to pull out Hashem's goodness and faith in Shemayim from that position. So it's one of those things where it's not necessarily about not believing you don't have the koach. It's about wondering what's meant for you. And you can say, wherever I go, I'm going to go with you, Hashem, and where I know that you're alongside me wherever you take me. But you can still not want to go there.
Sure.
And you can recognize that if you do, it's still what's best for you.
Right.
And it's like having both of them in the same hand at the same time. And in my opinion, that is one of the most challenging elements of life. is not necessarily knowing what's meant for you. Even if you're willing to go there knowing Hashem is alongside you.
Right. I mean, that's the I think the power of the emunah of I don't know, and yet I'm okay with the not knowing, or at least you're trying to cultivate a space of being okay with the not knowing, because that's what I think one of the very powerful teachings from Rav Joy Rosenfeld, from the different tzaddikim he brings, which is the willingness to it's like you like look at this world and you're like, you don't see Hashem, duh, it's concealed. It's meant to be concealed. And what our tzaddikim are bringing down, as far as I understand, is cultivating an attitude where we begin to see the concealment as a revelation, as opposed to as a lacking.
Well, that's where we should always be on the lookout for Hashgacha Pratit, where
Right.
we can see it.
Right.
You see, things don't happen naturally.
Right.
It was actually, I think, Rav Nesson Maimon who said something that really spoke with me about a person with wisdom walking through the forest and seeing the chachma in the direction that the leaf drifts, even if it seems to go back and forth to the same spaces before landing somewhere.
Beautiful.
And if that's a leaf, all the more so for us.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from when you're on what appears to be a journey in a direction
Sure.
you don't necessarily want to go.
Absolutely.
Wanting to cry out and say, please, not that.
Right. I mean, this was the Piatzestner's point when, after the burial of one of the other rebbes, I don't remember which one, was nifted from a disease in the Warsaw Ghetto. Probably Rabbi Ori knows. You
I mean, I don't know this exact story, but there are lots of great tzaddikim who died in the Warsaw Ghetto.
So the story, maybe you'll know the Rebbe, but so they were doing there. It was like risky, but they were doing a funeral
Procession.
Yeah, procession. What's the word?
Yeah,
Procession.
procession.
Yeah.
You got it right.
And someone heard the Rebbe say, we have beautiful terutzim of the mind, but Hashem, the terutzim of the heart, the questions of the heart, if you will, still are left unanswered, basically. So we can have a whole beautiful, wonderful, cerebral class about why bad things happen to good people, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's that unsatisfactory place within our own hearts. It's like Hashem, I don't understand. Don't understand. I know that there are answers to this that I can understand with my mind, but to understand with my heart, I don't know. But I don't remember the Rebbe that the story was associated with. Good. The story with Rav Nosson and Rabbi Nachman is, Rabbi Nachman told Rav Nosson that he said something like, "You don't have emunah." And Rav Nosson was like, "Rebbe, if there's one thing I have, it's emunah." And Rabbi Nachman said, "It's true, you do have emunah in Hashem, but you don't have emunah in yourself." And I've heard from my cousin, Rabbi Kamos, speak about the 4 levels of emunah: in Hashem, the Torah, the true tzaddikim, and in yourself.
So Chaim Kramer talked about when he was here.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the questions, very powerful, that my cousin will ask his students is, what would you do if you actually believed in yourself? What would you do? Powerful question. Or how would you daven if you believed, this is my iteration of this, but it's the same idea. How would you daven if you believed your tefillahs would make an impact? What would that hisporidus look like? Especially now, in my attempts to try to walk the walk, not just talk any talk, but in my very small apartment, we have a very small walk-in closet with all my wife's clothes and some of my clothes that I fit. And it's the only place that I feel not self-conscious about doing hisporidus in a way that's expressive. So it's one thing when you're in the Shemon Esrei, It's a whole other thing when you can unleash, and you see that your intention in that tefillah is one where you're going to war. There are lots of things we got to pray for over here. We got hostages. We got all sorts of things. We have our own areas of life that we want to mitaket. And we have a chance. You can really meet Megala your heart. Scream it out. Avinu Malkeinu. Chazreinu b'tshuva shleima lefinecha. But really, say it like you mean it. Not worried about what other people are thinking as you scream it out loud, you know. Or Ana Hashem Hoshiana. And you could really go for it. Ay, Nasan. Alkein Ikar, his Havuz, Hakili, Ayedei, Tefillah, Lahamshik, Lakabel, Hashefa, Lipo, Bikashos, who Ayedei, Shlemis, Hamunam, Bechol Bechinas. To metak in that clear tefillah, you need that amuna in all its aspects. The aspect of you believe that Hashem is manhing the whole world and is shkacha pratis and all of that, and you believe that your tefillah is powerful and it has an impact. Shem mamim b'Hashem Yisbarach, Jehu, Kol Yichol, Shalit, Umashel ben Manche, Kertzonahu b'Chanun v'Racham v'Shmei tefillah, Kol Pekanal.
About it was 9 o'clock.
This piece is a long piece. We're halfway through Oz Gimel. And we're in a good...
He says, "B'shvul ve'etzich nasad shuvcha shamuchim tchile v'achad neshol tzrochov."
Yes. He's going to say...
Ki alvei sir shamuchim neschas kamin b'shleimes.
Exactly.
But maybe you need to start speaking about yourself a little bit.
I heard Rabbi Tauber from L.A., Eliezer, Rabbi Chanan Tauber, in Uman this past year, when he was speaking about his Bodadus, he was saying that, he likes to begin with, if I understood him correctly, sometimes you just got to get it off your chest. So, but generally speaking, the idea is, as we'll see, is that the reason why you're starting with praises first is because that's ultimately going to strengthen your amunah. That's why the Shemona Esrei is built in the way that it's built, with the first bracha being about the avos, etc., is because you are supporting that sense of amunah, okay, Hashem, and then we go into one's needs, so to speak. But I hear that sometimes you just got to get it off your chest. Hashem, holy cow, boy, do I need help. No one laughed at my jokes today at work. Some people laughed. Any questions?
The Gevurus is Hashem's praises.
Yeah.
The Avos is, I guess, why we're zocher to say Hashem's praise.
Oh. Yeah, he's going to actually go in this paragraph. He's going to explain it.
Oh.
But B'ezrat Hashem. So the idea is, hopefully, that this won't just remain conversational, but that next week before we meet, hopefully, to actually prioritize that is produce, and and maybe a key takeaway is to really believe, if you're about to jump into Marv, that the Marv is going to count. But to believe that the reason why it's going to count is because you believe that it's going to count.
His broda juice is.
That's the voda. Questions, comments, concerns? Good, Tov? All right.
Stay for now till we get him.